Welcome back to another After Dark, everyone. Hope you all are having a good night so far. Hope you guys had a wonderful day. I wanted to check out this new video from Secret Base. I was going to watch it by myself, but honestly, I thought this would be a fun thing to check out together. This one is titled, How the Bad Boy Pistons Turned into a Slop Bucket of Infighting. I'm assuming this is going to be after the Bulls beat them in the playoffs, but I'm not. So it's the Bad Boy Pistons. I'm assuming this is going to be, after they won their 2 championships, they went to 3 state finals, and then the Bulls beat them, and then they seemed to just completely implode like immediately afterwards. So I'm actually interested in seeing the story behind it all, because the Bulls just kind of took over and the Pistons just kind of like fell on their face after that year, which was a very interesting thing. But anyways, you guys, as I always do, I'm going to link the original video down below for you. That's going to be in the description box. You also see a list of channel members. Shout out channel members. I appreciate you guys. Guys, like the video. Let's get right to it, because I'm not 100% what the premise is here, but let's find out.
For the majority of the 80s, NBA championship banners were
my favorite narrator. Let's go.
Either green and white or yellow and purple. But out in the middle of the country, something was happening. Okay, it doesn't look like much was happening, but in 1981, Jack McCluskey was brought in as GM. And he built a lineup that would spend the better part of the decade clawing their way up the NBA mountainside. Nicknamed Trader Jack, he made 38 trades in 10 years.
Damn.
Their on-court leader was Isiah Thomas, the little playmaker with an angelic smile. Joining him in the backcourt was Joe Dumars.
Joe D.
Quiet and humble, he didn't need the spotlight, but it shined on him anyway. Completing the guard trio that was called the greatest ever was Vinnie Johnson.
Yeah.
He made himself a
The
Detroit
microwave.
hero, hitting the 1990 Finals winning shot with 0.7 of a second left on the clock. Bill Laimbeer and Rick Mahorn were down low, giving the team their bad boys persona, and the rest of the NBA a reason to stay out of the paint. Avoiding physical pain was the reason. And also, your shot wasn't going to go in. And also, you weren't going to get the rebound. Outside of Detroit, Laimbeer was reviled, but inside, he was venerated. They lost Rick Mahorn in the '89 expansion draft, which brings me to James Edwards. Our reserve elevated to the starting lineup in Mahorn's absence, and more minutes looked good on him. And then you had what Larry Bird dubbed the X Factor, John Sally and Dennis Rodman. An underdog team made up of underdogs found glory twice. In large part due to their kill or be killed, never say die mentality. Problem is, never saying die doesn't shove sand back up the hourglass of life. And after a while, when you're old and tired and beat up and kind of cranky and kind of angry actually, maybe you do mutter the word die once or twice.
Quick shout out to our patrons.
What an intro.
Without your support, we wouldn't have been able to bring Collapse back. And it's fun to bring Collapse back, so thank you. To everyone else, why not join the Patreon party? You get new stuff every Monday, from sneak peeks to exclusive content. Speaking of content...
Let's do it.
Okay, so you look at the 90-91 season results and you see, Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls swept Detroit out of the playoffs in the Eastern Conference Finals. You might conclude, MJ's so great, MJ's so good, he collapsed the Detroit Pistons. End of a simple story. But hang on, Jordan and the Bulls were very good, and they might have been what pushed the Pistons over the cliff, but the Pistons were already teetering on the edge of said cliff before the 1991 playoff Bulls showed up.
Interesting.
In the 91 season, the Pistons were essentially tied for oldest team in the league, and it showed right away. The preseason was dominated by pretty big injuries to some of their best players. At the start of the season, a bunch of guys had bad backs, classic old man injury, and Detroit lost 7 of 8 at the start of December. Then, just as they were righting the ship, Isiah Thomas broke his hand and was out for 32 games. The team was a bit lost without their leader. Joe Dumars took on extra...
Our dominoes are lined up very carefully. When one goes down, it can bring all the rest down with it. Wow.
...minutes, but that was kind of destroying his body. His toe was so swollen he couldn't get his shoe on, so he cut a hole in the shoe and played 41 plus minutes a game.
Jeez.
You have to admire his heart and fear for his body. When Thomas came back and the team still didn't win, Thomas went off on Detroit's new attitude. There was no fire. Where'd this apathy come from? Success. The Pistons were the hare that could sit back and relax and lose games during the regular season, while the tortoises of the NBA slow and steadied their way to a habit of winning.
Absolutely. That's why when you see the 93 Bulls record, you can see they went down. And then I believe it also happened again in 98. In other words, after you won 2 straight, it's got to be hard, 1, to stay motivated throughout the regular season. But 2, also, fatigue has to be starting to set in, and complacency as well.
Thomas seemed to be
and at that point, that's what the Pistons situation was. They just won back-to-back.
Only one who remembered the hare lost the race, and things didn't magically turn around.
We can't just keep fooling ourselves that things are just going to magically turn around in playoff time. I agree 100%. Yep.
Come playoff time. During Game 3 of the Eastern Conference semis, the Celtics were crushing the Pistons so badly that at one point the announcer simply said, "This is humiliation." But Thomas hadn't said die yet. In Game 6, with almost every appendage injured, he hoisted the team on his back and took over in the final minutes of overtime. Pistons advance. That game has been called the last great game of the Pistons bad boy era, which I'm afraid means, it gets worse. It was clear the Pistons had to make some moves to keep up with the Bulls and the rest of the league. And Jack McCluskey looked at camera and said, "That's why they call me Trader Jack," while doing finger guns. He immediately dumped 2 beloved and solid contributing members of the team, James Edwards and Vinnie Johnson. It was a blow to an already crushed morale. What was McCluskey thinking? Let's take it one case at a time. For James Edwards, the guy was turning 36, and the GM thought he had a perfectly capable, if not more than capable, replacement already on the roster, William Bedford. You know him. He's the guy who gave so little effort Isaiah Thomas said he didn't deserve to wear pistons across his chest just one summer ago. But McCluskey really believed in Bedford, and really believed in his personal ability to turn Bedford around. Okay, so that's his logic on killing one family member. But what's all this about waiving Vinnie Johnson?
Yeah,
the guy who just a year ago won the finals with less than a second on the clock? The guy who in 91 was the leading scorer in the Bulls series. Well, he was turning 35 in the fall, and by waiving him, Detroit could take half his salary off their salary cap.
No.
McCluskey had no interest in a slow rebuild. He figured if his stars were getting older, he better hurry up and capitalize. The old win-now mentality meant he needed salary cap space now to lure in some new pieces now.
I mean, as hard as this is to see, that's all the Bulls fans, including myself, was asking that organization to do. Wait till they lose. Then you could blow up the team. But don't do it after you win.
Sorry, legendary Detroit hero. Thanks for the championship. With that salary cap space, McCluskey lured Orlando Woolridge, who was extremely productive the previous season with Denver, as well as Darrell Walker, a passionate defender who had a little bad boy attitude to him. With his new roster, the GM was confident the Pistons were title contenders once again. His confidence was perhaps misplaced. If you ask Isaiah Thomas what was going wrong, it was the new guys. The team couldn't generate offense, a role both Edwards and Johnson once filled. Wait, though, isn't Woolridge good at scoring? Well, Coach Chuck Daly, who wasn't in love with McCluskey's offseason moves, didn't know how to use him, or Walker. He tried having Woolridge come off the bench, but Woolridge couldn't get hot right away, and then Daly would bench him for not producing. And the coach basically just didn't play Walker. The GM had no patience for the coach's struggles, but he was kind of done with Daly already. At the start of the 91-92 season, he hired Miami's coach to be the Pistons' color commentator, and also allowed him to watch practices, causing many to compare Rothstein to a vulture, and Daly to carrion.
Oh, wow.
So everyone, from the locker room to the sideline to the front office, was having just the time of their lives.
Okay, yeah. Having him sit in and practices and observe practices, that's an uncomfortable situation.
Then, in January, news broke that Woolridge received a gigantic contract extension, and he received it during training camp, before ever playing a game for the Detroit Pistons. With this news, the locker room simply imploded. Because, you see, there were a few guys who had asked for bigger, longer contracts and had not received them. Guys who helped the team line the trophy case. And because it was a further insult to James Edwards and Vinnie Johnson. Woolridge's instant contract extension became a memo from management. It said, there will be no loyalty or appreciation for past efforts or accomplishments. Lambier explained, it was every man for himself in the Pistons camp. And blamed McCluskey for everything. The GM wasn't super pleased with that, especially because after Lambier's comments, the Pistons restructured, forcing McCluskey to report to new president Tom Wilson. Even Woolridge, with his big contract tucked under his arm, wasn't happy. The Pistons entered the '92 playoffs with deep chemistry issues, offensive issues, and old man issues. They left the playoffs after the first round. Hadn't happened to them since 1986. The press declared the end of the Bad Boys era.
Yeah.
As soon as the season ended, Chuck Daly resigned. He knew where he wasn't wanted. Rothstein took over a few weeks later. It looked like a rebuild was on the way. Rodman straight up said he didn't want to play in Detroit without Chuck. The coach was a father figure to him, and he resented the organization pushing that figure out the door. About a month later,
Dennis took it harder than anybody, probably.
Later, McCluskey, who couldn't recover from Lambier's accusations, left for a job with the Timberwolves.
For those of you who don't know, the reasoning is he saw, he talks about it a lot, but he saw John Daly as like a father figure.
Hired in his place, Billy McKinney made some quick moves.
Did I say John Daly? It's probably because I just watched Happy Gilmore too. I mean, Chuck Daly.
He traded Bedford for center Olden Polynice. He signed free agent Terry Mills, and traded away half of the Pistons' X Factor for future picks and a forward who, let me just tell you right now, didn't pan out. And that's all the moves the Pistons made. But most notable might be the move that wasn't made. Rodman, who said he wanted out, was still in, which had consequences. He played the first 4 games of the season, then hurt his knee, was cleared to play, but refused to go on a Western road trip with the team. As the season wore on, it was soon very clear the new coach wasn't working out. I'm not basing that on their record, which I could have, but I have more evidence. Half the team anonymously complained about the coach to the Detroit press. And complained might be too gentle of a word. There was talk of mutiny. Oh, I almost forgot. Rodman came back in late November, but in early February he was again not playing. This time with a calf injury that his own teammates doubted. With the trade deadline around the corner, nobody expected Rodman to stay, but he did. As McKinney explained, Dennis clearly doesn't want to be here, but if we don't get a deal that's right for us, Dennis can stay here until he rots.
Good Lord.
Just really cool, great atmosphere in the Pistons camp.
I mean, could you change the wordage a little bit? If you're going to say something like that, he can stay here until he rots? Like, come on, man.
Wonderful work environment. They missed the playoffs by a game. So, what was McKinney going to do for the 93-94 season? Rothstein was fired, Rodman was traded, and in a move that seemed to finally admit that, yeah, okay, maybe we do need to do a proper rebuild, Detroit drafted 2 young guards to learn behind Isaiah Thomas.
This was a good turnaround.
Thomas and Joe Dumars. But the old guards didn't plan to go anywhere anytime soon. Thomas was in the last year of his contract, but he wasn't retiring. Both were all-stars last year, and Dumars had the most productive season of his career. Lambier, now 36, didn't plan to retire either, but he was shifting to a reserve role, which he was cool with. Only issue, he now scrimmaged with the reserve team in practices, so he was playing against Isaiah Thomas and the starters. What's wrong with that, you ask? Well, in the last practice of the 93-94 preseason, the punishing big man broke the starting point guard's rib while setting a pick on the starting point guard.
Whoopsie.
Isaiah was livid.
I didn't know about this.
He would have fought Lambier, but the whole rib just broke thing prevented that sort of movement.
Wow, I knew I was hurt because when I went to hit him, I couldn't swing. Shoot.
And if you can believe it, that was not the only Pistons controversy of the preseason. Occasional starter Alvin Robertson who Billy McKinney brought on last season to infuse some enthusiasm into the team, strangled Billy McKinney during a different preseason practice.
Wow.
The executive had been questioning Robertson's back injury, and Robertson did not appreciate that. Though, can you really strangle someone so hard that several professional athletes need to pull you off of them if your back is injured?
Nah, man.
I'm just asking.
Adrenaline,
Robertson
man.
was suspended indefinitely. The Warring Pistons sputtered out to a 2-4 record. Then, at a mid-November practice, Lambier again stuck an elbow in Isaiah's ribs while setting a pick.
Jeez.
He didn't break anything this time, which was good, and also bad. Good because Isaiah's ribs were intact. Bad because Isaiah was physically capable of fighting Lambier. He punched him in the back of the head, breaking his own hand on the big man's skull.
I mean, what this taught me is that somehow Bill Lambier's standard pick setting, whatever he does, whenever he sets a pick against a defender, he's going right into the ribs. Like it's probably a cheap hit, because he's even doing this in practice against like his buddy Isaiah. So that's no accident. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I'm sorry. It's like that can't be intentional that he's actually trying to hurt his teammate. So it's just the way he plays.
Just 3 years ago, he was pouring champagne on that same skull. Both guys got destroyed in the press. Isaiah's a sneaky little sucker puncher, and Lambier's had this coming for years. 6 games later, Lambier retired. The Pistons in the center tried to claim it wasn't due to the fight, but nobody bought it. It's not how you want a former champion to go out, but the season must go on. Even though the Pistons only had one true center left, and were really bad. In December and January, they won 4 games in total. Injuries piled up. Dumars had strained his hamstring. Thomas's hand was healed, but his foot was messed up, which wouldn't have affected the team too badly if they were truly in rebuilding mode like they claimed. But Dumars and Thomas were still the core, still playing about 40 minutes a night, still fighting through injuries to stay on the court. Oh, also, their only center tore his MCL. That didn't help. They lost a game by 44 points in February.
What?
As long as I'm piling on, I figured I'd...
Okay, I'm learning so much here. This is a wild story. I mean, I lived it, but I honestly, like, the Pistons became off of my radar for a couple of years here until really Grant Hill came around, and it was Grant Hill and Joe D running the show.
In March, they finally threw in the towel on the season, sitting Dumars and Thomas and letting the new kids get some playing time. Losing and sitting wasn't super fun for Thomas, who talked about retiring. Then he tore his Achilles in April, and the decision was made. Joe Dumars was the only bad boy left standing. Though I wouldn't blame him if he wanted to sit down. The Pistons finished the 94 season 20-62.
20-62?
Bright side, that did allow them to draft Grant Hill 3rd overall and usher in new, brighter years. Figuratively, they won more. And literally. Look at those jerseys.
Yeah.
Hill led the team back
jerseys
to the happy side of 500, while Dumars contributed much more than his age should have allowed. But Detroit still couldn't get over the hump. There were no deep playoff runs, and sometimes no playoffs at all. After another first-round exit in 99...
Honestly, after watching this, it makes what Grant Hill did in Detroit even more impressive to me, because he came into this nonsense.
Dumars called it quits on his playing career, marking the official end of a team long ago declared dead. Because when they were declared dead, the corpse was still flopping around while the front office tried to revive it, cutting off certain limbs and injecting new life here and there. But being injected into a corpse was bad for the new life. There's disease and bacteria in there. And apparently flopping around was bad for the corpse itself. Bodily harm was inevitable. But in the summer of 2000, Joe Dumars was like, I am pretty young, not a corpse. He rejoined the Pistons as president of basketball operations, and he immediately traded away Grant Hill for Ben Wallace and Chucky Atkins. It wasn't regarded as a good trade for Detroit, but perhaps by being a part of one of the greatest defensive teams in history, propelled by underdogs, made Dumars capable of recognizing an underdog who could command a team with defensive prowess.
It's true. It
would bring glory to Detroit again.
It worked out. Oh, man. So it happened in 3 years.
Collapse is back, and that's basically because of your support.
All right, guys, I'm going to go and stop it right there. Wow, I didn't realize how quick it all happened. So within 3 years of the Bulls beating them in the Eastern Conference Finals in 1991, they completely dismantled the team. Like from coaches to all their star players, everybody was out. No one was left. And it was just Grant Hill's team, Well, Grant Hill and Joe D, but then Joe D was gone. So yeah, it became just Grant Hill's team, and good luck, complete rebuild. But I always find it interesting when, if you're gonna do a rebuild, like, why not just do the rebuild? And if you're really gonna do it, trade your assets away, and just start from scratch. That way, the star players who were there, who devoted themselves to your organization, they have a chance of winning somewhere else, because you're going in a completely different direction. We're looking 5 years from now. By then, you guys are all going to be retired and it's over with. So you don't want to spend the last bit of your career here. Plus, let's free up some money and let's actually, get some draft picks. All that good stuff can happen. But to do it over the course of 3 to 4 years, slowly removing those players that were your championship core, and then starting a rebuild, I feel like you're losing a lot of time there, And if you could just be honest with the players and just be like, hey, straight up, Isaiah, Joe D, guys, this is what we're doing over the next 5 years. This is this is the direction we're going. Do you want to be a part of this? Or would you like me to set you guys free, so you have a chance of winning? Because we're probably not going to have a shot at winning for a couple of years here as we rebuild, But I get the feeling that behind closed doors, that kind of transparency is not happening. Everyone's looking after their best interest. So, they're thinking about things like ticket sales and whatnot. And you sell more tickets if you have Isaiah Thomas and Joe D still on the team, right? And that's where it gets unfortunate for me, because it always comes back to this being a business. And things like this end up happening that I end up not agreeing with. But yeah, this was a cool story. I didn't know about all the little details. I do remember that short little stint where it was Lindsey Hunter came in and I was actually a fan. But then eventually, this just did become Grant Hill's team for a little while there. And that's when Eyes got back on to Detroit, because they were, around 500. They'd make it to the playoffs, and we had an all-star again. So it was fun to watch Detroit. Anyways, you guys, I am gonna head out. Leave me your thoughts in the comments. As always, we'll have a conversation like we always do, guys. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you want more content like this. If you guys have not subscribed over to Secret Base, that's wild. I love this channel. I've been watching this channel since way before I was ever reacting. But anyways, you guys, be water, my friends, all right? Have a wonderful, peaceful night. Tell your loved ones you love them. Be good to your peeps. And I'm going to head out, okay?